the truth.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome back. Welcome back to another Thursday night Get Right with Mr. Demetris Knuckles and me, Mr. Thomas Free Me. Coming back tonight. Again, as always, I pray that everybody's week was blessed. Everybody is safe, happy, healthy. Your bellies are full, and that you are comfortable for a great show that we got tonight. Very important show, so I hope you guys tune in. With that, I will pass it over to my ever so wonderful, gracious co-host, Mr. Demetris Knuckles.
All right, all right, all right. We first want to thank everybody that is tuning in because, as he said, it's going to be a dynamic show. And we just want to pray that everyone is in the best of health. And for those who are not, we pray for them. Those who are sick or shut in, we pray for them. And again, we're about to have a dynamic show, and you all can comment as we go along, if you so wish.
Amen. Blessings for that. So, with that being said, man, how was your week?
Man, funerals.
Yeah.
We was having Earl funeral, then we had Danny Boy funeral, which was, jam-packed, powerful, man. Had a lot of people there, people from United Nations, and it was just a wonderful showing, man. And now I have another funeral for the young man that made a mistake and shot himself in the head a couple Sundays ago, 15-year-old. So I have his funeral Monday.
Hmm.
But
15
God is
years
good either
old.
way, man.
Hey, man, he's the one with the plan, man. He knows what he's doing. You know, it's just like what we talk about. I just gotta make sure that I fit inside that plan somewhere, man, and just can't let these things shake me anymore like I used to, and just know that at the end of the day, my 2 feet are still here, my lungs are still moving, my heart is still breathing, beating, and as long as I'm still breathing, I can continue these messages for these soldiers that have paved the way for us to continue. You know what I mean?
That's right.
So tonight we're going to be talking about relationships, prison
Wow.
relationships of individuals inside and outside. We're going to cover both aspects of it because a relationship is a relationship, and it's all the mentality of what we go through inside, dealing with abandonment, dealing with a variety of issues, but specifically speaking about relationships. Is there any specific relationship that you had that you'll always remember?
Uh, the relationship that I had was the brotherhood that I had. Those are the relationships that
Hmm.
man, you can't put a price on that brotherhood right there because when there was no family there, there was no brother, no sister, no mother, father, aunt, uncle, or grandparent there. It was that guy that was walking the yard with you, man. And I always give it up to these brothers, man, because they the one who carried a whole lot of us through that time.
One thing I see about you, partner, is when you reflect on these things, you become very humble. You know what I mean? Like your whole body language just, you know what I mean? Like it's almost to the, and I know what that is because, and correct me if I'm wrong, but that's paying homage to the fact that there are individuals that are there and the reason you are who you are today, possibly even alive and breathing, going through what you've went through. And when we speak on these individuals, man, like words can't even carry the weight of respect that we have for these people.
And that's what people don't understand. When you when you literally are in the mud and the trenches, you've been already thrown away. You've been considered trash. You've been considered the lowest scum of the earth. And you run into someone who found value in you. And they pour into you a certain knowledge, wisdom, and understanding that will allow you to somehow, if you just grasp it, grow. And when you run into those type of individuals and you find that they're real, this is not some ploy, this is not some prey. They literally live off the food that they feeding you. So you know it's good because you can see them growing. So they feeding you that food. You can't do nothing but be grateful for it because there was a time when you was hungry. Your belly was touching your backbone. Nobody could feed your spirit. Nobody tried to feed your spirit. Or if they did, they was imposing something on you as opposed to introducing something to you.
For those that don't know and are joining us, for the first time, this is Demetris Knuckles, and what makes this human being that you're looking at right here so unique and so profound is this is an individual that spent his a large majority of his later childhood, his late teens, up until his adulthood in prison, right? So a lot of his formations of the man that you see now comes from incarceration, not society. That is what's so unique and special about individuals like him, because their whole thought process is is one that has been formed from incarceration, not societal incarceration, but this prison industrial system. It's this is why this is why I created the show that I created, to bring individuals like this to light, to bring the mindset of us type of individuals so that the public can see the depth of thought that we've put not only into ourselves, but how we can contribute to life, and that is and this is an individual right here that you're looking at that could have possibly still been in prison right now if it wouldn't have been for the Supreme Court overruling. This gentleman right now is still being in prison.
Hmm.
Now, I'm sorry. I just want the viewers, the listeners, to really understand the weight of not only who you are and your words, but what it is that we're talking about. Because that touches me, because it's the same brotherhood for me, right? Because there have been times where when we're talking about relationships, I missed jail. That's what's so important about it, especially when we're talking about recidivism. I missed
Right.
jail. I missed being around these individuals, not only because of the fact of who they were and the element of the brotherhood in that, like we were all menace to societies and we kind of bonded within that, but the fact that they were so deep and they were teaching me things that I wasn't understanding and learning out on the street. Like, and I started thriving for that knowledge. There would be times where, again, we tell I would go out and catch a charge, a weed charge or something like that, and be happy to go to jail. And I would joke with the homeboys, like, man, I'm going to kick it with Bobo for a little while. I'm gonna go hang out
Right.
with Bobo for a couple weeks. This charge is a bullshit charge. I'll just go to jail, sit in jail for a couple. But internally, I'm craving to go back before that relationship.
No, nobody understands that, man. I'm telling you, these are conversations that I have on a daily basis with people because uh, society society tends to believe because they have been taught and trained and indoctrinated to believe that guys go into prison and we click up together only to become a worse criminal if we should get out. But they don't understand that, first of all, one of the things that led us to prison was the lack of a familial structure. So we found ourselves hanging with guys in the streets. doing whatever guys did in the streets. Now, we found ourselves in prison, whether we did it or not, but we found ourselves in prison around guys that we found out to be men. So we looking around like, this can't be real. So now we like, okay, if that's real, I'm about to absorb some of this knowledge. So we start absorbing some of this knowledge and we start attending these schools of thought on the yard, walking the yard every day, in the weight pit, in the school, child hall, wherever we at. We find ourselves absorbing some knowledge, wisdom, and understanding that's slowly allowing us to grow. And we growing and we not even knowing that we growing. That's the beauty of it. And society thinks that we got up in there, like you say, you caught this charge and you went up in there. Yeah, you might have went up in there for the wrong reason, but while you was up in there, you've been schooled and taught and fed. That's the part they don't get. That's the stigma of that they attach to us when they say they go to prison just to become worse criminals. No, that's not the truth. Furthest thing from the truth.
But that's the story they got to spin in order to keep the money flowing in, you know.
Hey,
But so you, let me ask you this, and if I get too personal or anything like that, just whatever. But
come on
were
with it.
you were you a virgin when you went inside?
No, man, I was way far from that. I
So at
was
what age did you go in?
I went in at 17.
Okay.
Uh I had already had a son that had passed away by that time. And just talking about him today because today is the what, the 15th? Next week, next Friday will be 33 years ago that he passed away.
Mm.
So I had already been into, you know, the women and the girls and just my lifestyle dictated that type of outcome for me.
17 years old, and you are already living a man's life. You've already had a child and experienced the death of a child, and you're still a child.
Yes. And so now, just think of that. Just think of what you just said. So now, here I am. I'm a young child who've already experienced the death of a child. By the time I went to prison, I had been shot multiple times. I had been told that I probably wouldn't come out of paralysis on my left side. Probably wouldn't be able to walk again without a limp. I don't walk with a limp at all. I overcame paralysis in 10 days flat. I checked myself out of the hospital. I went to prison for 28 years. I overcame obstacle after obstacle, overcame anger issues, depression issues. Uh, and yet here I am, the one guy that they threw away, the one guy that the system traumatized so much from early on, even while I was in my mother's stomach, the one guy that they traumatized so much and they just knew it amount to nothing. I'm sitting right here. So the blessing is in the lesson, and the lessons that I was taught blessed me and carried me through something to get to something. That's why I'm here.
And you have every right to feel like you have no hope, and you have every right, given your experiences, to have given up. You know what I mean, on society, on everything. And like you say, yet here you are still trying to give back to the community that has shitted on you so much.
Do you know how easy it is? Just like you say, I have a right to just be the way, any way that I dictate myself to be. But do society know how easy it could be for us to say, I'm out of prison, out the hell with everything else, I'm out, and F everybody else. But that's not why we was born. See, we didn't know why we was born when we was engaged in criminal activity and when we went to prison and we furthered that that downward spiral. We didn't know. it wasn't until we got to the bottom of that spiral that we looked up and we seen those hands reaching down for us saying, come on, man, I've been trying to teach you this for the longest. Come on, man, I know you're hungry. Let me feed you. And so we grasped that hand, and that hand pulled us up from that dark place, fed us. We seen ourselves getting better. We stopped using certain languages that we used prior to going down. And now we say, you know what? The same way that them guys pulled me out of that hole, I'm about to pull somebody else out because they didn't pull me out for nothing. They didn't pull me out for me. They pulled me out because they wanted me to pull somebody out, and so on and so forth. That's how this go. So the blessings that have been bestowed upon me ain't blessings for me. They blessings for me to give away. And that's how we have to look at it that way. Otherwise, man, we're gonna fall by the wayside.
So the reason I was asking that is you've had experience with relationships going into prison. How did that affect you going in with a life sentence? Like some juveniles, they'll go in, they've never really experienced that, so you don't know, you don't miss what you don't know. But you've already experienced that. How did you process that going in with a life sentence?
It was it was hard, but again, man, when you I was fortunate because my female family members, all of them, I got a lot of female family members. They stayed in contact with me. I mean,
Mm,
from day one to the literally the day I walked out, my favorite cousin was standing right there. She was there 28 years ago. She was there the day I got out, and I lived with her when I got out. But it wasn't just her, it was so many aunts and other cousins that visited me, my little cousin Walanda. And so they kept me abreast of womanhood. I never knew how to carry on a relationship. I was young. I
right,
was only doing what I seen other people do, not knowing the right or wrong of it. I was only doing what the other guys was doing.
right.
So I wasn't even intelligent enough to understand what I was doing. I just knew that I was doing what they was doing. But my cousins taught me this stuff because I had to watch them grow up. I always been protective of all my female cousins and my aunts. So I'm watching my little cousins grow up. They got children now. I wish I was there to beat up their boyfriends or scare their boyfriends. I wasn't there. But these are the lessons that was handed down to me on visits.
Mm,
So that's how I learned about relationships. And I didn't come in knowing nothing about it. I learned about it while I was in prison, and I really learned about it coming out here. I learned a lot, a lot of lessons, boy, I tell you. And they were some
yeah.
hard lessons.
And that's something for the public to really understand about us, me as well. Like because I was in and out of jail so much, I missed so many events. I mean, I didn't have a 21st birthday. I was in prison for my 30th birthday. I was in prison for my 40th birthday. So I was never in place long enough to form any kind of long lasting relationships with anyone. You know what I
Right.
mean? And so, with that being said, I had no experience in married life, settled life, or how to sustain a relationship in any kind of length or period. And I'm still that way. And this is something that us coming out, especially as grown men, and these women are like, man, you've been in prison all this time, you don't have your shit straight yet. Like, lady, you don't even know, you have no clue what's even going on, right?
Right.
But again, it's these expectations that because we're a certain age, or maybe we show a certain articulateness, a certain intelligence, that these individuals expect that we're supposed to be at a certain level. And when we're not, right, it's like they become dysfunctional or something, you know?
Man, tell you something. I don't listen to a lot of people because is my volume going up?
You sound perfect to me.
Okay, good. So I don't listen to a lot of people, man, because if it's one thing that I've learned being out here, and I was told this coming out to be prepared for what I'm about to say now. Man, people gonna say some of the off the wallest stuff to us because they feel like we should know. And all we saying is that you usually say it takes a man to admit that he don't know. So now we admit that we don't know,
We're
we being
chastised for it.
crucified.
Telling.
But the fact remains is that if we were away from society for 1 year, that means that whatever happened in society in that 1 year, we are ignorant of.
Mm-hmm.
We have to learn about. Now, when it comes to technology and we're away for this amount of time, we don't know. We have to learn. When it comes to the change of in guard of how, a perfect example is how women, before I went to prison, women was in a different position. They played a different position, right?
Mm-hmm.
While I'm in prison, I'm hearing that these women, man, they out here, they like men now. They aggressive,
Amen.
man. They
I'm
running
telling
things.
you.
They this,
I'm
they that.
telling you.
So how was I supposed to know how to interpret this when I get out, other than by what I was told, not by actual experience? So I had to come experience that women are on a whole different level now. Women think differently. So the relationships that I had to come form on the way out of prison and getting out of prison was different now because I had never once seen women in control the way they are today.
Mm.
So I didn't know what to expect. I heard about it, but when I experienced it for myself, I had to be on guard a little bit more protective of myself. You know what I'm saying? So this is kind of what society don't understand. They just think that we supposed to know. We don't know, and that's what we keep telling you. We don't know, but I'm willing to learn.
They can't they can't understand that time gap because they've never experienced that time gap. For them
Yes.
it's incomprehensible. They cannot understand a time gap of 10 years, 20 years, 30 years,
Yeah.
right? It's just irrelevant to them. When we go in, we're stuck at the same time. All we can do is just reflect on the memories that we have because we're
Yes.
not producing no new memories, right? So all we can do, this is why you'll see dudes that'll have a million pictures of everything that they had up on the board. And they'll tell
Right.
a million stories about all the stuff that they had because they don't have anything else to talk about,
Hmm.
right? That's
Hmm.
all of
Hmm.
us.
Hmm.
That's the sadness of this. And we're stuck in that for however long our sentence is. And then we come back out into this society that expects us to pick everything up in a couple weeks and get our grind on, you know?
So, so when we get out, people would say, man, you got a memory like an elephant. No, I don't. It's
Mm,
just that what you just said. We were stuck in a time lapse.
mm-hmm.
So we was frozen in time to where every memory that we had leading up to that moment that we're frozen in time, we remember. Because like you just said, there's no new memories being made. Ain't no new pictures of me and family at the family reunion being made. Me and my cousin and the girls down the street playing hide and seek. Ain't none of that.
Nope.
The
We only
only
get to hear
memory,
about it.
right. So now the only thing that we have to hold on to is those moments in time that we did play the games up the street, ride the bikes, do whatever we did. We have those moments, and those are the pictures that we keep in our mind. And then people in society wonder why guys in prison always want pictures because
I'm
that's how
telling you,
we
man.
keep a relationship alive. The thought is the cause of it all. We say, send me some pictures. You ain't even got to send me no money, man. Just send me some pictures.
Send me some pictures, man.
I just want to stay connected. That's
And
the
I would sit there,
relationship.
man. I would sit there, D, and I would look at them pictures. I'd lay in my bed and just I'd have them up on the top of my because I had the bottom bunk, so I have them on my bunk, And I would just be living there, just picturing myself in these pictures. A picture of my daughter on the beach. And I would just sit there and just, man, my mind for hours, just look at that picture, man, and be like,
Yeah.
man, I just can't wait until I can just kick that water with her. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? And it's just, but going back into the topic, right? Same thing with these pictures. Having a relationship outside, the mother of my child, you know, and the disconnect that was happening with that, with her abandoning me and me not wanting to let go and all of that. And these pictures come in, and these pictures can be just as crucifying as well. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Especially if we see something in the picture that don't line up, because I'm
Ooh.
looking at every detail in this picture.
Every.
You told me that you took this picture at Nancy's house. Well, wait a minute. I've been at Nancy's house, and Nancy ain't never had no table like that.
Who is that guy
You
in the background?
you know what I'm saying? Or those are men's shoes back there,
Yeah.
right? All kinds of stuff like that. But how do we, as inmates, deal with knowing that our women are falling from us? They're growing tired. They're growing weary. They come into the visitation. You start seeing a different change in them in the visitation. They start becoming more frustrated with the process. You know what I mean? And more irritable. They start leaving a little bit sooner. They start making excuses as to why they can't come. You're calling, they're not answering the phone no more. How do we deal with that, man?
I'm just gonna say this here, man. That's called growing up. And sometimes people grow apart, and absence make the heart finder.
Hmm.
Sometimes, we see people, they frustrated with the process. They supposed to be frustrated with the process. But the process is meant, the system is meant to break us apart. That's you supposed to be frustrated with the process. Bingo, that's one. But you're not supposed to allow the system to break that connection that you have based on your frustration. Your frustration is supposed to make you want to do more, give you more courage to stand up against it. Stand up with whoever it is you're going to see. But what ends up happening is that our relationships fall apart because family can't visit us too no more because we too far away. Uh, Family can't visit us no more because, or don't visit us no more, don't write us no more because we don't write. Not realizing that we depressed. Man, I'm trying to figure out how the hell I got here, how the hell
Hmm.
I'm going to deal with being here, and how the hell I'm going to get out of here. Those are my thoughts. Three great thoughts. How I got here, how I'm going to deal with while I'm here, and how the hell I'm going to get out of here. I'm not concerned with no, now those pictures is going to help me.
Hmm.
Those letters gonna help me. But because I can remember a time that I didn't write home for a few years, and I really did, man. And when they had the JPay system in place, I finally went on JPay and I had a list of letters, right? And I told my family and people, I said, yeah, I'm still here. I'm good. I just been having to deal with me. And that's what people don't understand, man, is that I understand you frustrated, but if you frustrated on the outside, imagine how I feel on the inside. But I gotta be
Hmm.
strong. I'm trying to give you courage. I'm trying to give you an inspiration to just stay strong and trust the process because I have to trust the process. I may not like the system or nothing, but it's that system I gotta go through to get out, right? So I have to put some trust in the system because that's the system that I'm not going to get out no other way. They're not walking me out the back door. I got to walk out through the parole board saying or through the court, one way or the other. So I have to put some type of trust in those mechanisms, right? And that's what the people on the outside don't understand. We can hate it as much as possible. But if that's
Hmm.
the way, but if that's the door that I got to go through to get there, then please wait at the door for me.
Hmm.
Help me tear down the door or something.
So with all of these emotions that we expressed during our incarceration, let's touch a little bit on the homosexuality that goes on inside of prison and why some men turn to it and act like they're not part of it, right? These individuals where they turn to it, we've all seen it, the individual where they're sneaking off to the room and then you'll see them out at visitation later that weekend with their family members, their wife, things like that. What do you think, or how do I want to phrase this? Like, what is it that makes a person do that? Fall to that, right? Am I asking this correct? You know what I'm trying to ask?
What would make a man look at another man?
As if it was a female.
And I'm gonna be straight up here, because this is a conversation that I've had many times, and it's a difference between a guy who play the gangster role, play the street tough guy role, and play these type of roles, and then they go in there. Now, if they was into that, they just into that. That's
Hmm.
one thing.
That's one thing.
I'm not judging nobody. If you like it, more power to you. We're not
That's right.
talking about you. We're talking
Right.
about the guy with the chest stuck out, with the mean mug looking face, and always the tough talker, too tough for TV. Now, what will make him break down? Because he was curious and he was weak. And out of his curiosity, he explored his weakness because he was, you know, curious about, man, this soul. Because I had a friend. This guy was so homophobic, I knew he was gay.
Hmm.
He was so homophobic. And sure enough, he came out gay because he was so homophobic. And I I never really been homophobic. I don't play them games,
Right.
but I'm not. I can hug my homeboy. He gay. That's his business. That ain't mine.
And let me say this, man, and I always say this. The gay people in prison, man, these are some of the most straight up convicts that I've ever dealt with. Like, these people keep it real. You know what
You
I
ain't
mean? They
lying,
keep it real. These people are straight up convicts, and I used to do a lot of business with gay people inside. You know what I mean?
right? So, and see, that's what I'm saying is that I never I never wanted to try to judge them,
Hmm.
you know, because man, I hate to be judged, especially wrongfully. That's why a lot of us are stigmatized to this very day because we've been wrongfully judged. We've been thrown away. We've been said that we scum of the earth, etc. And these are the titles that's going upon the people who engage in whatever gender relation they attach themselves to. And so the guys that's going in there who end up delving into that world, we stigmatize them not because they simply engage in homosexuality, not for that reason. They're stigmatized and they're criticized because they once stuck their chests out like they was tough and they not into that. And they once talked about them people and they once put down them people and they once said, I'll never be like them people and made those people look so terrible. And now they right there with them. That's why we talk about these cats. Not because they just gay. No, we not going against no, that's their life. We don't have to agree with it, but we have to respect whatever route they choose for themselves. But
Hmm.
those guys who played a tough role and talked about the homosexuals, these are the guys that we cannot respect
Hmm.
because they don't show respect for themselves. They degraded people and they showed themselves to be hypocrites. Simple.
So what are some signs that women would see in a man like that, where she's coming and she's visiting a man, maybe she's meeting him, maybe she's planning on bringing this man home into her house to meet her children and be married and all that, but yet he's having these type of activities on the compound.
And that's great because I remember my little friend. This is no, I'm not exaggerating. We was on the yard and we was outside on the yard. We wasn't together, but we was outside at the same time. And he was walking around the yard holding hands with the his boyfriend or girlfriend. I don't know which one was which.
Mm-hmm.
So they called him for a visit. He let go of his hand, went up to the visit room. They called me for a visit. I go out there. We had my own correctional facility in Detroit. I go out there, my cousin and them out there. I see him. He with his beautiful female. I told my cousin, I said, that guy right there gay. I said, he was
Mm,
just on the yard, literally just on the yard, holding hands with the boy. And so I told my cousin this. I told a few of my friends this. You have to ask that question. Don't hold nobody up. Ask that question. Were you engaged in any type of homosexual behavior while in prison? Please just be straight up with me
mm-hmm,
because we can find out. You know what I'm
mm-hmm,
saying? Because we all know more than one person in prison, and that one person usually know you. So I told my cousins, I told my friends, I said, just ask them. You
mm-hmm,
know, one of my friends asked me. She was like, now I know this is a stupid question because I've been knowing you all my life. But tell me that because I heard that guys be with a lot of time be engaging. I said, and that's right, some guys do, but some guys don't. I said, I'm one
mm-hmm.
of them guys who don't. I stand 10 toes down on who I am. I'm not curious. And I will say this, because for those who know me, and somebody probably gonna get mad at me when I say this, but I always said where there's a woman, there's a way. And there's
Mm-hmm.
always a woman around. So there's a way.
For me, well, two things. So let me tell the story real quick. So there was a dude that was in there that was doing that, and of course he didn't get caught at visitation or anything like that. But when he got home, right, him and his homeboys and all that was standing out on the block, and he pulled up. When he pulled up, there was a dude there that he was incarcerated with. And as soon as he got out of the car with his chick, the dude started laughing like, man, what the hell? Like you was going knee deep inside. You know what I mean? Just put the dude all on blast, right? Well, the dude, of course, was embarrassed, pulled out his pistol, shot the dude, and ended up going back to prison for the rest of his life over this incident, which I'm sure, whatever. But for me, I used to see it all the time, man. You would it got to the point to where I just wanted to make sure that it wasn't anybody that I was associating with that was going on these missions, because I always made sure, my brother, that whoever, the most important thing to me through my whole bid was whoever I sat down and broke bread with were men. You know what I mean? I'll kick the bobo with you, whatever you got going on out on the yard, things like that. But when I sit down at my table, only men sit with me.
Right.
You know what I mean? And we only break bread because that's, to me, that's sacrificial.
Mm.
And I always wanted to make sure that whoever was sitting down with me, breaking bread with me, was 100%. You know what I mean? But it's there, and I think a lot of it has to do with the fact, again, like you talk about the weakness, that we become so infatuated with attention, with affection, that when we become separated from that, we don't know how to handle that. we can maybe handle it for so long, but I think that tough talking that you're talking about is an individual that knows he's getting ready to break. And he's trying to tough talk this. He's calling them every name in the book, F these punks, all this stuff. And at the end of the day, he knows he's about to break. This is how I see it. You know what
Yeah,
I mean?
yeah.
And then you'll see it. It'll come a holiday meal, right? Because holiday meals is when we get fed the most. So the whole dorm clears out on the holiday meal. So all you got to do is kick back for a couple minutes, hang out in your cell, you know what I'm saying, and look out the window, and you'll see what's going on in the dorm during the holiday meal when
Right.
nobody's in the dorm, right? You'll see people stealing people's stuff out of cells. You'll see all that.
Absolutely.
So for me, it was I just think that this is what prison does to us. Is like I've always said, prison is going to make you face the things that you've been running from your whole life, right? That is what prison is going to do to you. It's going to make you face whatever demon you've been running from. You can't run from it no more because everybody's in your business. There's nothing you can hide from anybody, nothing. And whatever you're hiding is eventually going to end up coming out, you know?
So, so what you're saying is that prison exposed you to yourself.
No question.
It's going to expose your strengths. It's going to expose your weaknesses. Because, for example, you could take a young man who's been very wild all of his life that led him to prison, right? And he get with a certain group of intelligence, and man, he shine like a star because that prison exposed him to himself. And then you could take that man who came to prison, who was into the stuff he was into. He probably wasn't even a tough guy in the street, but he came to prison and he got with a group of guys that manipulated him, and he just got to stabbing people. It
Mm.
exposed him to himself. Then you got that guy who was out in society. He was the ladies' man, and he was this and he was that. He was sometimes a tough guy, and he got in prison, and he had that time, whether it was a year, because a year is a lifetime, whether it was a year or he had that life without parole, a life sentence. And he was like, man, I ain't going nowhere, man. I don't care, man. Listen, if I can get one of them guys to bend over, I'm getting it. Simple as that. It exposed his weakness to himself because he surrendered all of who he is and sacrificed that to live in this moment. No different than the guy who came and surrounded himself around intelligence. He sacrificed everything he once did prior to that led up to prison. He sacrificed that whole lifestyle to become an intelligent individual. No different than the guy who became a prison gangster who sacrificed the innocent life that he had. He was sometime he only fight when necessary, but he got in prison and he became a bull.
Mm-hmm.
Sacrificed everything who he once was to become a prison gangster. So these are the things that we go through. We go through that weakness and that strength. Prison exposes you to who you really are, who you want to be, and where you want to go. And it's going to push you in any direction that you want to go. It's going to push you there. And when I say prison, I'm not talking about the administration. I'm talking about the atmosphere, the mindset.
Right.
It's going to push you.
I had a friend, Angie, who went into prison for the very first time as a volunteer. And quick story, we got to wrap this up, but she goes in and she created a disturbance, right? So what she did, now listen, this is what she did. She's free world people coming in. She's bringing free world food with her, right? They got pizzas, they got all this stuff. They're in the cafeteria, right? So you got these individuals that are in the cafeteria. You know what time it is. We just going for the food, man. Pizza. They got pizza, man. Shit, where do I sign up? You
Right.
know what I mean? So she's got this crowd in there. Now, the orderlies, of course, are doing what with that pizza? Them orderlies are trying to stash that. They're trying to bring some of that back to the
Yeah.
unit,
Sell it,
right?
baby.
So here goes little Miss Angie. Now, little Miss Angie knows that there's extra pizzas back there in the back. So she gets the individuals out in the cafeteria, right? Or however it was, maybe the individuals back in the whoever it was, but she rallied up the individuals, not the orderlies, to go back there and get some of this extra pizza that the orderlies were having in the cut to take back to the compound.
Right.
Now, like I explained to Angie, that's a no-no what you just did, because those individuals that you led knew that those orderlies were housing pizza. That's why they souped you up to lead the way so they can ride behind you to get some more of that pizza, because they didn't want the orderlies to take it back and sell it. They wanted to eat it. You know what
Right.
I mean? The orderlies are going to get mad because you probably just cost these people a couple $100. You
Mm-hmm.
know what I'm saying? So the point of this is that this woman had created tension, right? And this tension that she created is what I am trying to get people to understand. This is the tension that we have on us every day, all day long. That tension that you feel is always there, right? Because she felt it. And there's another individual, Mr. Craig Powell. He's been going into the prisons for 16 years. And it's like he says, I've seen it. I've seen what you're talking about, but it's never been directed at me. I've never
Right.
felt it.
Right.
Where this person, Angie, felt it. She knew, like, oh my God, I think I'm getting ready to start a riot. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And that is her unique experience with that. So I just wanted to share, that was for me a profound moment to hear that here is a free world person who's only spent, I think she did a clip at night in jail or something, but to feel that type of tension that we live through all the time for years and years and decades, and how that wears on our mentality, on our
Yeah.
body, our soul. You know what I mean? And going back to what you said from the top, that is why those pictures are so important, because those pictures eases that. There is no tension then. When
Yeah.
I'm laying in my bed and I'm looking at that picture, I'm not tense. I'm not stressed. You know what I mean? I'm in a faraway place.
Right. And you know, I, and then that picture can take you back to moments. When you real sad, that one picture that you took with you and your mother when you was uh putting the two fingers behind your mother's head and she was pissed off at you, right? But y'all found a moment of laughter in it because every time she turned around, you'll put your hands down. That you remember that picture took you back there. Like the song by Minnie Riperton say,
Mm.
I stumbled upon this photograph. It took me way back. See what I'm saying? Back down memory lane. Those pictures, I lie to you not, man. Pictures saved a lot of lives, man. It saved a lot of lives. And what do I mean by that? And I want everybody to hear what I'm saying, what I mean by the picture. Just a still picture saved a life. Because that still picture kept me so calm and kept me so connected and mindful of my goal that when the officer or that inmate pissed me off, I went back to my cell and looked at that picture. And
Mm.
it kept me grounded, reminded of my goal. So those pictures, and I'm telling everybody, if you know someone in prison, if they're asking you for pictures, or even if they're not asking you for pictures, please send pictures. This is their connection to reality. This is their connection to sanity. This is their connection to humanity. This is their outlet for calmness and peace. It's those pictures. Please send pictures up in the prison system. This is why the prison system don't want certain pictures in there because they want us to be miserable, because they understand the psychological effect that pictures have on us while we in there. Send them up in there.
That's exactly right, man. So that being said, man, it's even if you write a letter, right? Write a letter, and as you're trying to explain something, take the little bit of time. Like, say, if you're trying to explain the new mailbox that you're painting, right? Go out and just take a picture of the mailbox. You may not think that is significant. You may think that just by writing it down, he'll get it. But if you go out there and take a picture, that I promise you, I'm looking at every blade of grass in that picture. You know what I mean? I'm looking at everything, and it is therapeutic. So, Demetris, another great show, partner.
Absolutely. You
Another
know, I'm
great
going to
show,
invite you to
man.
my podcast, man, as soon as I get it up. I haven't figured it out yet. But
Yeah, no, we're gonna get it, and then we can take all these shows and load them up there as well, and
yeah.
get you crunk. On Tuesday nights I'm starting a new show with a gentleman by the name of Wolf Dollar Bill, and this new show is called Black and White,
Okay.
truth versus fiction, and this is all we're going to be talking about is just all the racism going on in every
Right.
aspect, whether it's in sports, whether it's unannounced, unknown. You know what I mean? We're just gonna be discussing these things on Tuesday night, so we're gonna kick that off and see how that goes. But man, this show right here is growing, dog. We got 13 viewers through the whole show.
See, that's great. Let me see something. Because I posted it on my pages. I posted it on my pages, but I don't know if they think they know that they could look at it live.
Mm,
Yeah, see, they don't know if they could look at it live. I shared it to 32 different groups, and I usually
mm,
get a lot of viewers. But
yeah,
there's only one way to grow this thing, man, and that's to keep doing this thing, man. And people gonna catch on because people gonna understand it, that we know different than them, and that we're talking about the issues that everyone is talking about, and we're just having a platform to talk about it on, and they can comment or whatever, and we could answer their comment, answer their questions, whatever it is. Just hey, take care of your business. We're gonna do our part, you do your part.
that's right. Amen. Thursday night, get right. Next
Get
week, partner, you take care. You stay safe, man. What you got?
Absolutely. It's either you're gonna get right or you're gonna stay wrong. We try to help you get right because as long as we right, we stand on the side of right, we can't go wrong. God is with us at all times. Peace and love.
Amen. Amen. Absolutely. So until next week, partner, you stay safe. For the rest of my listeners, thank you for tuning in, man. Thank you for tuning in. Spread the word. Thursday night, get right, man. Save the kids. We out.
Peace.